You are listening to the Self-Trust Solution Podcast with Dawn Lede, episode number 75. Welcome back. Today's episode, we're diving into one of the most crucial aspects of achieving our goals and really of our life, and that's making decisions. And specifically, we want to explore how to build self-trust into your decision-making process. So if you find yourself paralyzed by fear of making the wrong choice or constantly second guessing yourself, or simply want to make more deliberate and intentional decisions, this episode is for you. We'll take a look at the decision-making process. What are the steps to consider? Embracing the power of values and perspective. Looking how aligning your decisions with your core values can reduce drama and increase comfort in the decision-making process. We'll also look at living deliberately and intentionally, meaning we make conscious decisions that reflect your true desires rather than defaulting to what's easy or expected. Are you ready to overcome procrastination for good and take control of your goal success? Join me for a free live masterclass where we'll tackle the root causes of goal stagnation and unlock the keys to unstoppable follow-through. Get actionable tools and insights you need to conquer procrastination and achieve your goals with confidence. Don't let procrastination and self-sabotage hold you back any longer. Secure your spot now and take the first step towards unstoppable progress. Secure your spot and overcome procrastination for good at theselftrustcoach.com/self-talk. When it comes to making decisions, it's important to consider that everything is optional. Now, it doesn't always seem this way, but the truth is you don't have to do anything. Are there consequences that are very much unwanted if we don't do certain things? Absolutely. And yet there is something about recognizing that it is still a choice. It's still optional, because owning our choices in the decisions we make is how we create more intentionality and more possibility. This mindset frees you to explore all possibilities without feeling boxed in. So let's walk through the decision-making process. The first step is to consider, what are all the options? What am I not seeing as an option here, possibly? List out all the possible choices, from mundane to absurd, with no obligation to take action on any of them. But don't hold back or judge them, just get them all out there. What are all the options that I have regarding this decision? Keep pushing past the obvious choices. Sometimes the best options aren't the first ones we think of. The first ones are often the ones that we know, that we have familiarity with. Continue to ask and just see what else is in there. What else are your options? Then I invite you to go to the worst case scenarios, because let's be honest, our brain is going to offer us all the things that could go wrong. So let's just get it out there. Consider what's the worst that could happen. This helps demystify fears and prepares you for any outcome, meaning it prepares you for what is possible along the way. And then I want you to see, what is the likelihood of these worst case scenarios? What am I telling myself that is the worst thing that could happen? And then what is the likelihood? Sometimes I'll go from 0 to 100%, or from 0 to 10, whatever works for you. What is the actual likelihood of this? And Am I willing, based on what that number is, to try it anyway? And will I have indications that it's moving towards this worst case scenario along the way? Because when our brain thinks of worst case scenarios, it thinks that it's the absolute worst and it's just going to happen and we won't be able to do anything about it. And the truth is, we want to look at that and be honest with ourselves. Not only how likely is this worst case scenario, is it worth it anyway, depending on the number that we give it of likelihood, and what are my points along the way that will tell me if it's moving in that direction, and what will I do in response to that to get ahead of it. The next part to making decisions is to look at the best case scenarios. We've given airtime to the worst case scenarios. We've looked at the potential downfall. We've looked at the likelihood of it, and we've set up markers in our mind of what we'll look for to know if that's the direction it's going. Now we want to look at what the best possible outcome is. What would it look like if everything went perfectly? And how am I willing? How much am I willing to play in the in between? Because there's the worst case scenario and there's a best case scenario. And then there's this glorious middle with all these other amazing options in between. The fifth is to look at, what do I want? What decision would I make if no one would have a negative opinion? Sometimes, including you, sometimes we get caught up in the fear of judgment of both others and ourselves. So we want to look at, what would you choose if you were only accountable to your own desires? And again, this doesn't mean that's the decision you make, but you want to give yourself all of these options to look at. What is it that I really want? If I didn't have to do anything, if I didn't have to take any action, what decision would I make? That strips away the pressure and the expectations. What's left is your true preference. The next step is to embrace the idea that there are no right or wrong decisions. Now, I talk about this a lot because when we embrace the idea that every choice is a learning opportunity that's going to lead to another decision that we get to make, it's so freeing. It becomes an opening to make a decision that is based on your best knowledge without the fear of what's on the other side necessarily. There are no fear that you are on the other side going to decide that it's wrong. If you decide ahead of time that there's no right or wrong decisions, you're going to make a decision after looking at all your options, pushing past the obvious choices, looking at the worst case scenarios, looking at the best case scenarios, entertaining your willingness to play in that glorious middle, looking at what it is you would decide if no one would have any judgments, including you, and what you would want if you didn't have to do anything. And embracing this, there are no right or wrong decisions. It's how we can move forward, being honest with ourselves, building that self-trust as a space to tell ourselves the truth about the decision we want to make, and then deciding next step based on aligning our decisions with our values. So there's so much power in perspective. And when we align our decisions with our values, we reduce drama and second guessing. So I love a quote from Matthew Kelly, who said, if you only learn to master one moment in your life, learn to master the moment of decision. And this is so true. And when we align our decisions with core values that we have, we actually can transform not only our perspective, but our ability and capacity to make decisions that are unencumbered by doubts and fears. So, how do we harness this power? First is to look at the values and perspectives that you have, what matters most to you, and use those as filters for your decisions. So, when we've looked at all the options and the different scenarios and played in all the possibility, now we want to filter it through our values and perspectives. This is how we also create more comfort and confidence. Because even if the outcome is uncertain, we know we made it based on values that are important to us, who we value being, and how we want to show up in the world. That creates comfort in our choices. And then when we embrace the learning, knowing that every decision, right or wrong, offers a lesson or a gift, we can recognize the value in each choice we make. So it's not only aligning with your values, it's creating comfort in it and creating more value for you with the lessons that will come out of it, whether it's a lesson of this worked out exactly as I wanted, and that's amazing, or this worked out differently than how I wanted, and maybe it's better, or maybe it's not what you wanted. Or maybe it doesn't work out how you want it to at all, and it's better than you would have even known to ask for. So fun when that happens. Next, we want to make deliberate and intentional decisions. So we want to stop making decisions by default. So many of our decisions are made by habit or for comfort. And we want to live deliberately and intentionally through our choices. We want to make decisions that are intentional, not default. So we do that by owning our power of choice, recognizing that you have the power to choose and that no one else can make these decisions for you, that you don't have to make them, and it is a privilege to be able to make them. And whatever you choose, you want to make that decision on purpose, deliberately choosing actions that align with your goals and values. The more conscious your decisions, the better you'll navigate the steps towards your goal. Because default decisions are often made to seek comfort, to avoid pain, to minimize effort. And much of what we want to accomplish in our goals means not living in that comfort all the time. It means that we will be challenged. We want to be challenged. So we want to make decisions from that space where we want more, not for comfort, not default decision making. And that's where we really want to lean on self-trust, because fear and nervousness and discomfort can seem like something's gone wrong. And our brain may even react as if it is. But instead, we want to see those feelings as signs that you're doing something new. You're stepping out of your comfort zone. So we want to normalize discomfort. It's not a reason to stop. It's actually often a sign that you should keep going, except that new choices often come with discomfort. It's just a natural part of growth. And then you can support yourself by giving yourself what you need during those moments of discomfort that don't move you further away from your goal. So not using that discomfort as a signal to stop, but creating some comfort for yourself as you keep moving forward, so that you can allow those feelings without making them mean anything's gone wrong, and trust the process. Know that these feelings are part of your journey towards your goal. They're part of living a life that is focused on growth and change and achieving new things. Because while there is a part of our brain that does seek comfort and wants to avoid pain and wants to conserve energy, there's also a part of us that desperately wants to experience new things and reach for new goals, new experiences. And that is where we get to work in making these decisions, making sure that we're doing it deliberately. We're not making discomfort meaning things gone wrong. We're looking at all of our options and creating the decisions that align with our values so that we move forward in a way that supports who we are and what we want to achieve. What will you take away from today's episode? My goal is for you to embrace the freedom of options and make decisions intentionally and deliberately. Remember that every decision is optional and that there are no right or wrong decisions. Each choice is a step on the path leading to a new choice, leading to a new choice. Align with your values. Use your core values as a guide. It reduces second guessing and enhances your decision-making confidence so that you don't fall into decision fatigue. Make decisions consciously and on purpose. Trust in the face of discomfort. Make decisions not by default, but deliberately, and recognize that discomfort often accompanies growth. Trust yourself to make decisions even when there is uncertainty on the other side. Because the certainty that you have doesn't come from knowing what's going to happen on the other side of your decision necessarily. It comes from knowing that no matter what, you will extract a lesson or new knowledge, new information, and you will use that to make the next best decision moving forward. Thank you for joining me today. Remember, your choices are yours to make, and they are such a privilege to be able to do that. And each one contributes to your unique makeup of your life and how you move towards your goals. Trust in yourself, make your decisions with confidence, and move forward with purpose. Thank you for joining me today on the Self-Trust Solution Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to leave a review. This helps me reach new listeners, continue to create content, and it brings me so much joy in my mission to help you create self-trust fueled goal success. Join us next week for episode number 76. Thanks for tuning in, and have a trust-filled week. Are you ready to finally achieve your goals with a simple and effective approach? Join the Self-Trust Lab, our 3E success method to streamline goal success will help you shift limiting beliefs, build a solid goal strategy, and create a roadmap for infallible follow-through. With master-level coaching and personalized guidance, you'll apply these tools and methods to make your goal success inevitable. You'll learn to overcome obstacles, make strategic adjustments, and celebrate every win along the way. Don't miss out on this opportunity to transform your life and how you go after your goals. Sign up today at theselftrustcoach.com/the Self-Trust Lab. See you inside.